Well, hello, I'm Greg Andruck, and welcome to the Business Freedom Conversation. Today's stream, live stream, and this should be a really interesting one. This is all about 0% credit cards. So we live in an interesting age. We've been through a lot the last few years. Pretty much banks don't loan unless you're a huge corporation or you get some kind of government guarantee, primarily SBA loans. But one of the things that they're enamored with is enticing you to take their credit card and not have any interest. So that's today's subject. Let's explore it and get into it. I've got a presentation here, and let's get it up here. Why is this not going up there? Oh, I see. There we go. Okay, so 0% credit cards. I have this picture because it's called stacking when you get more than one. There's a lot of incentives out there today. It's amazing to me how much banks have been doing this, and it's all to your benefit. So, what is credit card stacking? So, credit card stacking is when you have multiple applications. Pretty much, you need to be on a platform to do that, and you apply at the same time. And platforms like the one that I subscribe to uh, has a contract with credit bureaus where we can do a soft pull on your credit and pull up the profile, and that's the starting point. And then apply at the same time. And because there's no inquiry, the credit card providers do not know that you've applied at more than one place, which is very interesting. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then when the offers come back, then you evaluate them. Most of the offers, when they come back, they have bonuses. They'll give you a $750 credit to your account if you spend $2,000 within the first month, things like that, points, all kinds of things. But when you get multiple ones at the same time, it takes a little bit of skill, but that's where this gets really interesting and very profitable. The FICO score drives the process. We're going to talk about all these elements. You need a minimum FICO score. You're not that we have to drop back and figure out how to raise your FICO score. But don't be discouraged because there's techniques to fix all these things. What I find is a lot of people think one and done. Oh, I applied, I got turned down, I'm not worthy. It's just you need to know how to work your file and improve it to where you can qualify. We'll get into that too. Your number of inquiries can stop the process. What I see all the time, and the most deadly thing of this is car dealers, that you'll go car shopping and you wind up with 12, 14, 15 inquiries on your credit report because they'll test all three bureaus every time you walk into one. We'll get into what you need to have for the number of inquiries on your report, but that's another critical element. Your card utilization, the existing credit cards you have to have a utilization lower than 45%. And there's lots of techniques how to fix that if you're above that. It's not the end of the world. And then the negative items, they're probably the most difficult one to deal with. And they're really a case by case basis of how to evaluate your credit profile to determine what to do about negative items. But we'll get into that in that section. And then what is your credit history? And I get this all the time. I'll get people who have maybe 10 or 15 or 20,000 of existing credit wanting 80, 100, $200,000. To get a higher number, you have to work your way up to it. It's not that hard to do. It may take 1 to 2 years, but you have to, like anything in life, you have to concentrate on it and do it. And your credit history has to support what you want to do. And the perfect starting place to expand and improve your credit history is with 0% credit cards. So here we are going to talk about what they are again. So how to get these is you get what's called a soft inquiry on your credit report. There's no cost, there's no obligation. and it shows where you are. And from that profile, we develop an optimal funding plan. And an optimal funding plan is looking at the things that may need to be fixed, things that may need to be taken advantage of. One of the hidden gems that I'm finding is people when underutilize their business. If you have a business, this is a perfect outlet for 0% credit cards, because if you do the credit card correctly on your business, it doesn't show up on your personal credit report. And that's huge. But we create an optimal funding plan to meet your goals and determine how we get to the number that you want. Like I said before, we apply to the credit card company simultaneously because we can do that off the platform. They don't know if you apply, you're going to immediately have an inquiry on your credit report. And you're probably only going to be able to get one, maybe two credit cards. Very few credit card providers will grant more than one credit card in a 30-day period. So if they see that you've applied, that's it. That's why that's the advantage of using the loan platform, applying simultaneously, working looking at the ones to accept, work the ones that are pending, and basically walk away from the ones that are rejected. Although a lot of times when they're rejected, it only takes a phone call to get it approved. And that's what I said. You're going to review your offers. There's the offers come back as they're either approved, they're pending, or they're declined. And depending upon which credit card provider it is, usually we can help you make a phone call, get a reconsideration, and you wind up with a new credit card. This is super critical to get a 0% credit card. Once the applications are sent out, and if I do it, you'll get notified immediately. One needs to reply within 24 to 48 hours. We live in a world of identity theft, and we live in a world where the credit card companies are very concerned of who they're really dealing with. Once they approve you, they want to verify who you are. And if you don't respond within 24 to 48 hours, they kind of put it on the back burner because they're nervous and thinking you're not a real person. You're trying to commit fraud with them. And then what happens is, for the ones that are pending or declined, you may call for reconsideration. And frequently just explaining your situation, your story, or giving them additional information, you get approved. And then you wind up with a 0% credit card. So that's what credit card stacking is how to do all this at the same time and then work the responses quickly, because you can't work one response today and a week later work the other one, because then they'll see the inquiry from the first one. The only time you're going to have an inquiry when you do credit card stacking is when on the ones you accept. When you accept a deal, when they approve it and put it on their books, they also record an inquiry with the credit bureau. And that's another reason it's critical to reply to whoever approved you within 24 to 48 hours and to call for reconsideration right away. Your FICO score. We all know about FICO scores. I remember when they first came out. TRW, now Experian, used to be based in Cleveland. And this is many years ago. I had a project trying to finance things. And the person in the securities license was trying to raise the money for this project, brought these people out and they made a presentation. I'd never heard of it. And here it is now. We all know our numbers. It's an everyday thing. So here's the FICO score. 650 is the minimum. Can't go below 650. There's ways to get it up above. We can look at the elements on your report, make suggestions to you for things to do, and you make those changes, you'll get above the 650. And that's what I'm saying. We have tools and resources to help you improve your score. The optimal funding plan will increase your score, because by having the plan and seeing what the issues are on your credit profile, we now have a roadmap to fix those things that make you acceptable to the credit card providers. So how many inquiries? It's like, I tell my wife, how many motorcycles is too many? The next one. Well, that's not true in inquiries. So on inquiries, 7 is the limit. But that's not the end of the day. I see people all the time with 10, 12, 14 inquiries, and they're usually there because they either made multiple applications for mortgages, or more. The most common one, as I said before, is car dealers will mark up your credit report like there's no tomorrow. That's not the end of the world. I have someone that can remove your inquiries. So we look at this and determine when they're going to be removed. The credit requires stay on your credit report for 2 years. So sometimes it's not worth getting it off. But if you have a long time to go on the inquiries, and the next thing is sometimes old inquiries don't matter. It depends on what they were for. If they were for car loans and mortgages, a lot of lenders, if they're more than a year old, will ignore the ones that are over a year old if those providers are car loans and mortgages, but not always. Excuse me. And so when the report is on, the inquiry is on your report for 2 years, and then what happens is we have a guy in Maryland, he's a lawyer, and he can get all of the inquiries where you did not get credit off your report. It costs $500. It's very effective, but oftentimes you may have enough inquiries expire within the next 30 to 90 days, and it may be worthwhile just to wait and have them come off and then proceed again with your optimum funding plan. So card utilization, this is everybody's issue. This is probably our biggest issue besides the FICO score, is the utilization percent. 45% is the maximum. Now, that's not the end of the world. I would say more than half the people that I see are overutilized. And that means that they have balances outstanding over 45%. Generally speaking, that means we don't go out for 0% credit cards first. If you're overutilized and you don't have the funds to pay your cards down, then your optimum funding plan will start with a term loan. And there's a double effect from getting that term loan. It will bring your cards in line with the 45% rule. FICO uses that rule. And when you drop your cards to 45% or less, frequently what we'll do for people is get a term loan, and it'll pay off most or all of their credit cards. And your FICO score jumps by 50, 75, 100 points. It's astounding to watch. Now, you have to wait until your existing cards report that new lower balance, which is generally no longer than 30 days. But like I said, we'll start with a term loan. We'll fix that situation, and all of a sudden you're within the 45% limit, and you have a significantly higher FICO score, which is not a bad thing to have. Now, business credit cards can also fix this. And I frequently see, I would say only about 20% of the people I see do business credit cards correctly, because most people wind up with them on their personal credit report. But if you do it correctly, it's only on the business and doesn't show on your credit report. So it's possible to get a business credit card if your business is strong enough, pay down your personal with the cash advance from the 0% business card, and you have the best of both worlds. You not only have a lower balance, you've got a higher credit score, and you've got more credit. It's like manna from heaven. It dropped from heaven. As I said, once you pay down the credit card to get below that 45% utilization rate, you have to wait for your creditor to update the file. But once they do that, like I said, you get a huge boost in your FICO score, and you become significantly more attractive, and it boosts your likelihood. So this is the really tough one to handle. Negative items. You've got a lady there, squeezing her head over her issues. So the big one, the most common one, is when people are 30 days late. That's a really, really common one. There's no way to recover from this. You pretty much need to have it be more than 90 days ago. Typically, it needs to be almost a year ago. But if you have a 30-day late, we know what the issue is, and the time it affects the timing of your optimal funding plan. Collection items. So because of the pandemic, there's a lot of people that have collection items, because if you remember, millions and millions and millions of people were laid off, and it put the whole economy in a lurch. And so a lot of people have a collection item. The problem is your collection item needs to be paid off. If you have an open collection item, there will be no new credit, not from anybody, not from a term lender, credit card equipment, nothing. You have to close out the collection item. So hand in hand with 30 days late in a collection item, it makes it difficult. But again, term loans can generally fix this because term loans generally have a significantly lower interest rate than the credit cards you have outstanding. You do a term loan. The other effect of doing the term loan to fix the fact that your credit has some issues is the term loan gives you another element of credit, which we're going to get into in a minute, and that improves your FICO score and makes you more attractive to lenders. A closed account's a problem. Now, a closed account that's paid off is not a problem, but typically this affects the amount of credit you're going to get. If you close I almost tell everybody, if you don't want to use it anymore, don't close it, because this feeds right into that case that I mentioned at the beginning. I'll get people that have maybe 15 or 20,000 worth of open credit wanting 80 or 100,000. That's just really not going to happen. It's too big a stretch. And that's why you need to leave your closed accounts open if you're in good standing, because it gives you a broader credit, and a creditor will look at you that you can handle your credit and you're worthy to get more credit. And if you just simply close an account, it shortens your credit profile, making you thinner credit-wise and less attractive. Now, the next one, over limit. Over limit is death. Pretty much over limit needs to be taken care of. There'll be no credit anywhere if you're over the limit. I frequently see people that are a few $100s over the limit. It's a massive hit on your credit, on your FICO score, probably 20 to 50 points. $200 over on a $10,000 credit card, and your FICO gets hit for 20 to 50 points. So you need to pay down anything that's over limit. And then the one that's very, very difficult, it's almost like having a collection item. If you have a closed account with a balance, there'll be no new credit. So, but again, these providers, the people that do term loans, they love debt consolidation. And sometimes all of these, 30 days late, collection item, closed account over limit, and closed with a balance, make up a story as to you're legitimately using the money and making a good decision to improve and clean up your credit. And there are term loan providers out there that will grant you the term loan, which gives you lower interest rate than your existing credit cards. They'll do it in addition to having these items because you're consolidating your debt and improving your debt to income ratio. And that's another critical item, is the debt to income ratio. So anyhow, here's the bad credit items. So your credit history. So I've mentioned this a couple of times already. This is kind of huge, and I get this all the time, that people will want a number that's in no relation to their credit history. You know, it's sort of like not realizing that you have to walk before you can run. That you have to build up your credit history and worthiness and have a broad enough credit profile to warrant getting larger numbers. Very few creditors will give somebody who says maybe has two $5,000 credit cards, will give them $50,000 because it's many multiples of what they already have. But that's not the end of the world. So the first thing is we determine how much credit you have. Where are you in all of this? And that's what the plan is for, so that you can move forward and build your credit. And that's not just making good payments and being on time. It's building the size of your credit too, if you want more money. So if you own a business and you have a big project coming up, you need to think maybe a year in advance and start accumulating the credit information to make it happen. Because with a thin credit profile, to then want a large number, it generally just never happens. But we can get there. And that's what the optimum credit plan is for, funding plan rather. What's your credit mix? Now, this is important, to have different types of loans on there. So rather than having just revolving charges like credit cards, to have also term loans like car loans, student loans, all sorts of other things are critically important to that credit mix to get more credit. And it helps you get 0% credit cards because it shows you being more creditworthy. Again, we're back to, if you need help, like with a term loan, the term loan will help you down the road to get your 0% credit cards because you've proven that you were worthy and could manage the credit and have a large enough credit and all those kind of things. And the use of the term loan brings your other profile items like your utilization and your FICO score to a better level. For business loans, and this is why people usually want a larger number, what is the revenue of your business? This gets reviewed for 0% business credit cards as well. And this is a good thing to monitor and make sure you're utilizing, because as your business grows, typically there's two ways to get a 0% business credit card. Right when you start a business, for some reason, the credit card providers love that, and they look at your personal report and they give it to you on your business. When you've been in business for a while, then they more look at the business and want to use, they go by the revenue. How large is the revenue? And they give you a percentage of the revenue as a credit card. Just understand that and know that going forward, building the revenue and building the business credit go hand in hand. How long you have had credit is also kind of critical for getting 0% credit cards and other loans to maybe repair your credit profile. If you've had credit for a short period of time and have a thin credit profile, like maybe only 1 or 2 credit cards or just a car loan and no credit card, stuff like that, it makes it really difficult to get additional pieces of credit or 0% credit cards. But again, it's not the end of the world. That's why we create an optimal funding plan, is it creates a roadmap for us to get you there. And that's kind of what it's all about. One of the things that can often solve problems is, do you have a partner? Do you have a business partner or a spouse or just a general partner in life that can help you with being an additional card holder on their cards, or use their profile with you to broaden the business? This is most helpful in business, of using your spouse or partner or even just a friend that is part of the business, and they lend their credit profile, and you're able to get business 0% credit cards because you now have a broader profile because you have another person on there. Solves a lot of problems. Like I said, all of these things are super doable. It's not the end of the world if there's a glitch on anything. So what is a 0% credit card worth? So this is really interesting, and it is kind of amazing that this is the leading marketing tool by all the credit providers. And interest rates on credit cards run from, I've seen them as low as 15% and as high as 36%. So you have a broad range. The average is somewhere between 22 and 25%. So what is this worth? If we do all this for you, what's the benefit to you? So currently, credit card providers are offering 12, 15, 18, and the new thing is 21 months. Can you imagine getting $40,000 and not have to pay interest on it for 21 months? And it's worth a lot of money. We'll show you that in a minute. The average client gets $40,000 in these 0% credit cards, both personal and business. It's pretty amazing how, if you walked into most of these banks, Chase Bank, American Express, Bank of America, etc., all across the country, and asked for a straight loan, you would get turned down. But applying for a 0% credit card and having the correct elements on your credit profile, they'll throw multiple cards at you. But again, the reason multiple cards are thrown at you is if you use a platform that can simultaneously apply. And the funny thing about that simultaneous application is that they don't seem to mind. I don't know if they don't review it afterwards, but they just don't seem to mind that you got 2, 3, 4, 5 credit cards all at once. I guess as long as you keep them in good standing, they're happy. If you did them one at a time, they care. So it's a very interesting paradox. 12 months is $10,000 of interest avoided on the typical customer profile. If we get you $40,000 of the 0% credit cards, that's worth $10,000 in interest avoided. You don't have to pay any interest. On 21 months, latest offer that all these banks are offering, it's $17,500. So if we got you $200,000, which is kind of the limit that we can achieve, you would have a benefit of $50,000. Actually, more. If you got 200,000 on 21 months, that would be worth almost $90,000. It's a huge benefit. I mean, it's worth looking at just to kind of straighten up your credit profile. What happens at the end of the period, the interest-free period? We get you a term loan. So either you pay it off or you get a term loan. One of the things that I'm seeing, particularly with business 0% credit cards, is I have clients that want larger numbers, 3, 4, 500,000, $1 million. And most lenders, remember we're talking about private lenders here, the banks don't really lend any money anymore, they want to see that you have cash in the bank so you can make the payment. And this is a struggle I have all of the time with my small business owner clients, is you have to manage your business to a cash balance. And if you manage it below, in other words, instead of borrowing money on the credit card, you use the money and you have a small cash balance, the lenders will make you pay the term loan on a weekly basis. But if you put the cash you get in your account and leave an appropriate amount of cash and manage your business to that cash balance, then you can have a monthly payment. And that's a really big difference and makes life a lot easier when you're utilizing it on that basis. But what we do is when the interest-free period is over, you're a client of ours, and we'll generally know when that happens, and we'll help you get other financing. On 21 months, you're very close to being able to get more 0% credit cards. So down the road, it could be possible to apply again for 0% credit cards and refinance the ones that are hitting their interest limit time period with new 0%. But if that doesn't happen, as long as everything lines up, like we talked about in your optimum funding plan, then we can get you a term loan that will give you monthly terms and lower interest rate, the whole thing. It's all good. So that's what happens there. But what a huge advantage now that the banks are offering as a marketing tool, this type of stuff. So here is the summary of it. Get a free credit pull, no inquiry, no obligation. You can do that on my website, the mymoneyarchitect.com. My page on LinkedIn is Funding Now, but I can't use the word funding on Instagram or Facebook, so I changed it to My Money Architect. At some time in the near future, I'll change my Funding Now to My Money Architect. The QR code, if you go to where the QR code is, that's where you can enter your information, and all we need is your name, your street address, where your credit is at, your birth date, and we can do a soft pull and start you off on the way to getting from 10,000 to 50,000 worth of interest benefit on these 0% credit cards. So there you have it in a nutshell. Thank you. Send me any questions. You know where I am on my Funding Now page. You can go to my moneyarchitect.com page, do the QR code that will get you into the platform. And like I said, no credit pull, no inquiry, no obligation. You'll find out where you stand. So thanks for listening to me today. And here is how you get the 0% credit card. If any of you are watching that did not get my PDF on how to get the 0% credit card, which gives you all the steps of how to do it, just message me on LinkedIn or go to mymoneyarchitect.com. Tell me you want it. Almost everybody who registered for this live stream, I sent you that PDF that shows you how to get a 0% credit card. So if you want anything more, just let me know, and I will get it for you. So there you have it. That's my presentation on how to get 0% credit cards. I hope you'll take advantage of it. Like I said, to find out where you stand on how you can get it is free and no obligation. Also, what's amazing about these is you can generally have a credit card within 3 to 5 days. I've seen very often have somebody get approved and it arrives in the mail 3, 4, 5 days later. Boom, there you have money. It's an amazing thing. Term loans are even faster. I have a lot of term loan lenders that can fund within 1 day. Just you hit the profile, boom, cash is in your account the next day. So let me know if you're interested in any of those things. You have the QR code, you have everything. I'll put it back up here for a second. And thank you for coming to my live stream. I wish you well. Get in touch with me if you need any help on getting a 0% credit card. Thank you.